I think we have all had the experience of going to a club to hear a band, and we see that number one fan, right? She's dancing the hardest, she knows all the lyrics, she wants to share lots of tidbits about the band, right? You've seen her. I love that person. I like to think that I am that person for micro-business. Now, micro-business is a pretty new concept, and so there isn't really a standard definition yet. But I like to think of micro-businesses as itty-bitty little businesses that are built on passion and the idea of a certain kind of life, a more mindful, happier life, rather than a certain amount of money. I think we're seeing a revolution of micro businesses right now and small businesses, thanks in large part to the internet and social media, which makes it so much easier to connect with that subset of society that will value us so much that they'll reward us with business. It might sound a little Pollyanna, I'm okay of being accused of that, but I think that these are exactly the businesses that have the chance to, they have the goods to help us rebuild our economy on a more stable, sustainable platform. Now, these are exactly all the facts and figures I have to, whoops, I have no facts and figures. That's okay. There we go. Those are all the facts and figures I have to back that up. Oh, nope, that's not it. But I feel really certain about this, and I'll tell you why. I don't understand all the nuances of why our economy has been so problematic recently. I really don't. I'm not an economist. But what I do understand about it, I don't think it's an oversimplification to say that at the root of every bit of the issues going into it, we find greed, right? It's that search for a certain amount of money. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment a business built on the idea of a happier life, a more authentic, sustainable life. Can you imagine the owner of a business like that happily making 300 times her lowest paid employee? Can you imagine the owner of a business like that knowingly making decision after decision that will be sure to cause harm down the road in favor of short-term profit? I really can't picture it. And now I have to ask you Floydians, were you thinking about your own business? One of the things my husband Rob and I love about this area is that it is jam-packed full of the entrepreneurial spirit. It is filled with people who are willing to work very, very hard to have a certain kind of life, a happier, more mindful, more intentional life. And we get it. We have the bug too. We have it so bad that we started a micro business to serve other micro businesses. And because Rob gave me an enormous Oxford English dictionary years ago, we named it Nary Ordinary Business Services. Somebody asked me once if we had made up the word nary, and it is antiquated, it really is. But according to my massive OED, it actually means not a, or not a one, which for a writer and a word geek like me makes our business name a little problematic. It seems like services should be singular or something, but I console my writerly self by saying we serve nary an ordinary business, which is true. But the real honest to goodness truth is that we had the acronym first. Did you catch that? Nary Ordinary Business Services, or no BS. Yeah. It makes us giggle, and when you're starting a company to provide business services, you have two choices, and you figure this out really quickly, by the way. The choices are either do not include the words business and services in your name, because it's playing with fire, or do it really intentionally. And it makes us giggle, so we went intentional. But really, it's not just the giggling, though we love to do that. Really, this is how we like to see ourselves, as people who have very high standards of customer service and ethics for business and life, as straight-up people who are pretty easy to talk to, as people who try to do right by folks, as people who live and work authentically, which to us means putting the best of ourselves out into the world day after day. Oh, this is a no BS moment because I totally spaced where I was going. Oh my goodness, I totally did. I'm so sorry.
We love your shoes.
Thank you. Well, I'll jump ahead, and I'll tell you, I gotta tell you, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me tell you that there is a disclaimer for this no BS attitude, right? It's not just about putting the best of ourselves out there day after day. It's really not literal, okay? No BS cannot be taken too literal because BS a little thoughtful BS is the grease on the wheels of life, right? Now I want you to imagine something with me for a moment, and I think you'll see where I'm coming from. So I want you to imagine somebody that you love a whole lot, one of your sweeties, okay? And imagine your sweetie loves to sing. It could be a child, a honey, it could be a parent, a sibling, it doesn't matter. But so this sweetie of yours loves to sing and is invited to sing publicly and is really excited and practices, and the event rolls around and you're on the front row and your sweetie's mouth opens and out comes a sound that would make angels weep, but not for joy. Of course, the first thing your sweetie does is comes to you and says, "How did I do?" And now I ask you, is not a little thoughtful BS pretty handy now and then? Yeah. Let's take it into a business context, okay? Because we have all had days when we had meetings on the agenda and all we wanted to do was curl up in a fetal position and watch the worst stuff on Netflix we can find. We all have days like that. When we have built our work around money and earnings, there's nowhere to go on days like that. Greed is not enough to bolster us. But when we have built our work around the kind of life we want, around our passions, we have all of that to fall back on and to lift us up. When I'm having rock-kicking days, and I certainly have them, I take a moment before that meeting and I stop and I think about what it is I love about my work and what it is I value about this client in particular. And that is always enough to lift me up so that when my client says, "Hey, how you doing today?" instead of saying, "Fine," I can say, "It's been a pretty rough day, but I'm really glad that I get to be here with you now." The really cool part about this is that when just like inner happiness can put a smile on our faces, make us stand up a little bit straighter, making ourselves smile, making ourselves do our power stance, right? Bringing the best of ourselves mindfully forward day after day can help us reverse engineer the kind of happiness and confidence that leads to the courage required to be authentic. Because boy howdy, that is some scary stuff, putting ourselves out there. Like Brené Brown said, and so many other wonderful people tonight, it's making ourselves vulnerable. I know because I have been the subject of my own unintentional experiment for almost 5 years now, ever since I got this tattoo on my arm for my 30th birthday, this tattoo. This was my first tattoo outside of the t-shirt zone, okay? And the reason that we get tattoos in the t-shirt zone is because it makes them very easy to cover, which begs the question, why go through all the expense and pain of tattooing just to keep it covered? And when I started digging down through the layers of cause and effect in my own life, what I found were some pretty deep-seated people-pleasing tendencies. This critical voice that said people weren't going to like me if I didn't conform to a pretty narrow array of ideas about beauty and behavior and success. I did not realize any of that until I got this tattoo, until it became very difficult to pretend to be anything but a woman who would tattoo monsters on her arm. I didn't realize until then how much time I spent wearing a muted mask of my authentic self because I thought other people would find it more palatable. The really funny part about that is that this is an acronym. Can you tell I love acronyms? Okay, so it's IIWII, or it is what it is, which is a reminder to me that I control about this much of life, and all the rest of it just is what it is, and I have to let go and let it be or be dragged behind it. Once I had this tattoo and I had abruptly torn off a public persona that I didn't even realize I had, I realized pretty quickly it was let go and let it be. I had to be me or be dragged. Now, I told you it was an experiment, and so I do have some data to share, some very inexact, unscientific data, which suggests that 99% of people, roughly, fall somewhere on the spectrum of liking my tattoo to not caring at all, and that the best indicator that somebody will fall in the remaining 1% is a familial relationship with me. When I realized this, that people weren't judging me, the most incredible thing happened. I felt more confident in putting more of myself out there. And the more authentic I was, the more positively people responded to me. And this created this amazing cycle of affirmation that awes me every single day. Now, I am not saying run out and get a tattoo, but please email me a picture if you do. I'd love to see it. What I'm suggesting is that you're pretty amazing, whoever you are, and that if you can find a little bit of courage to put a little bit of your authentic self out there, you'll start your own cycle of affirmation, and that will lift you up. Let's bring the best of ourselves day after day. Let's show people, let's bring it to our work. And let's show people that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.